In the previous video, we learned how to create our first Django project and app. Now let's start bringing our web pages to life with views, which is the heart of any Django application. Views decide what happens when someone visits a URL, what data is shown, and what response is sent back. In this video, we'll understand how function-based views work, create a few simple ones, and see them in action right here on the CodeChef platform. So let's get started. So let's understand what are Django views, which is the heart of every web request. So in Django, a view is a Python function or a class which receives a request, which is an HTTP request, and it returns a response which can be HTML, text, JSON, etc. So in Django, a view is simply a Python function that takes a request and returns a response. It is a bridge between what the user asks for and what your website displays. So let's understand a function-based view in Django. So in Django, views are always defined inside the views.py file of your app. So let's take an example of a simple view that is given over here. Here we have defined a simple function called hello world that takes one parameter, which is a request. Now when this view is triggered, Django will send back an HTTP response with the text hello world. So that is why you see here return HTTP response hello world. Now this is the simplest form of a Django view. It does not need a template or a database yet. So how does a function-based views work? We first define a Python function in the views.py file, and it must accept a request object, and it can perform some logic, which is optional. In the example that we took, there are no logic that is performed. It is simply returning an HTTP response, and that is what it will be doing, return an HTTP response. So every time someone visits a URL that is linked to this view, Django calls the function and it sends back whatever response that you have defined. Alright, so let's see how this works in a real Django app. So for that, we will head over to our CodeChef platform. So here we have a simple example setup for you. So here, if I look at the file explorer, you can understand that there is a project that is created called project_calc. And under this, we have an app created with the name calc_app. So how to create projects and app, we have already discussed in the previous video. And if you don't know, you can watch that. So under this app that we have, there is a views.py file, and that is a file that is open for you on the file explorer over here. Now if I just zoom into this, let's see what is the code that is written here and what they do. So every time we want to send something back to the browser, we use Django's HTTP response class. That is why we always start the view by importing this HTTP response class. Now, if you look further, you can see that there are two functions or two views that are defined over here. One is called home, another one is called about. Now looking at the home view, this is the view that handles the home page, and the second one, about, is the one that is going to handle the about page of our website. Now each of them, they return a simple HTTP response, which is a text. So here the home view takes a parameter request and returns an HTTP response hello world, which is a simple text. Similarly, for the about view as well, it takes a request parameter and returns an HTTP response, which is this is the about page. Now we also have this urls.py file that is open. Now if I click on this urls.py file, on the file explorer you can see that this urls.py file belongs to the project calc folder. That means it is a urls.py file under this project calc directory. Now here, if I just zoom into this, you can see that each path here it maps to a view function. So we'll come into detail about how to configure URLs in Django in the next lesson. For now, just understand that each path is configured in such a way that it maps to a view function. So here you can see in line number 6, there is a path and there are these empty double inverted commas, which signifies the home page or the home URL. So when you visit the home page, it is going to call the home view. Which is the home view? The home view is this, which is defined in the views.py file. And then if you visit about, that means if you type your homepage URL followed by about / then it is going to call the about view, which is the about view. In the views.py file, we can see this is the about view and this is what it should return. So that is how it works. Now let us run this and see if it is working like we expected. So let's click on the run button here. Now this will start the Django server and you can see that the page is loading on the right. Now here we have just visited the home page when we clicked on run, and we see hello world is displayed because the URL was configured in such a way that when we visit the home page, the home view is called. So in home view, it returns this text hello world. Now, if I go to this URL and at the end after the .com part, if I append /about and press enter, you can see it displays this is the about page. Now what happened is in the urls.py file, it was configured in such a way that if we go to the about section by typing about, it is going to call the about view. And what does the about view return? It returns this is the about page. So that is how it works, and that's how views respond differently based on the URL visited. So that is how function-based views work in Django. Alright, you have just learned how function-based views work in Django, how they handle incoming requests and return responses. Views are really the heart of any Django application. They control what users see and how your app behaves. Now, before moving on, make sure you practice the corresponding problems available right here on the CodeChef platform. It's a quick hands-on exercise that will help you strengthen your understanding of how views work and prepare you for the next topic. Now, speaking of the next topic, in the next video, we will explore URL configuration in Django, where you will learn how to connect these views to URLs so that your web pages can actually be accessed in the browser. So go ahead, try the practice problems on CodeChef, and I will see you in the next video.